Good morning, Bante.
Good morning. Uh, Today, uh, okay. Last week, we uh, were talking on uh, how and when and where craving arises. Now, uh, I also started talking a little bit about how craving ceases when it is ceases. Uh, and I could not finish it because it is a very uh, long section. Without this, our uh, discourse on uh, Mahasatipatthana Sutta is not complete. And therefore, I want to uh, talk on this today in order to complete the entire discourse on mindfulness practice. That is a great discourse on the practice of four foundations of mindfulness, which you find in Digha Nikaya. In nowhere else can we find this explanation in this detail. And therefore I thought of using this in order to complete this series of talks. And Buddha asked monks, and what bhikkhus is the noble truth of cessation of suffering? You know, cessation of suffering is you find it in the Four Noble Truths. Suffering, cause of suffering, end of suffering. That is the third step. Cessation of suffering. And then the last is the path leading to the cessation of suffering. When we understand the cessation of suffering, we also understand how and when cessation ceases through the Noble Eightfold Path. Now let us take this in section by section uh, and try to understand. So the Buddha asked the question, and what bhikkhus is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering? Now the cessation of suffering, he answered the question he asked. It is the remainderless fading away and ceasing, the giving up, relinquishing, letting go, and rejecting of that same craving. In the last section we mentioned, suffering arises from craving. This is a very famous, fundamental, basic truth that you find in the heart of Buddhism. So when this craving is the cause of suffering, to end suffering we have to end craving. And last week maybe mentioned where craving arises. I mentioned 60 places. I don't know whether you remember them, but there are 60 places where craving arises. You may be all so overwhelmed with craving. These 60 places are through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. 6 senses. And then each sense generate craving. Each sense generate craving in 10 different places and different occasions. And I mentioned them. Let us take one of these 6 senses. Eye, visual objects, eye consciousness, eye contact, and the feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, that arise depending on eye contact. 5. And then perception of form, perception of sound, perception of smell, perception of taste, and perception of the mind object. 10. Now, then depending on them, now when you multiply this 10 by the 6, you get 60 moment. So, so therefore, when the craving ceases, it ceases in these places. The Buddha said, when this craving is abandoned, where is it abandoned? When it ceases, where does it cease? And Buddha said, whatever in the world has a pleasant and agreeable nature, it is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Now, and what in the world has a pleasant and agreeable nature? Now, we are not talking about the world outside ourselves. In the Buddha's teaching, world is us. You all remember there is a very famous discourse called Rohitasa Sutta, which you find in Anguttara Nikaya and in Samyutta Nikaya. Rohitasa Sutta. In that discourse, Buddha said, this one fathom body with its consciousness, do I declare the world, origin of world, end of world, and the path leading to the end of world. That means this, our body, our feeling, our perception, our thought, our consciousness, all this put together is our world. So craving arises in that world, in that world. So, and what in the world has pleasant and agreeable nature? Now, when he says the pleasant and agreeable nature is in the world, where in the world? And what is, which place? Then Buddha explained, answered his own question. Yeah, he said, the eye has a pleasant and agreeable nature in the world. Now in this our world, I is one place. It is here that this craving is abandoned, when it is abandoned. When craving arises through the I, when Buddha said craving arises in the world, or uh, that means through the I, craving arises, I, through the I. It is here that this craving is abandoned, when it is abandoned. Where it arises, there we should abandon it, not anywhere else. Now, here, has pleasant and agreeable nature in the world, it is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. It is here that it ceases when it ceases. Similarly, nose, tongue, body, and mind. We have to repeat the same thing. The tongue, body has pleasant and agreeable nature. In the world, it is here that craving abandoned when it is abandoned. The mind has a pleasant and agreeable nature, and it is here that this craving is abandoned when it is abandoned. Now we saw eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. 6. Then there are respective objects, like the form. With the eye, we see forms of all kind of forms. And same sentence repeated with regard to each object. Eye, form, ear, sound, nose, smell, tongue, taste, body, tangible, mind objects. What are the mind objects? Mind objects are memories, ideas, perceptions, and all these are mind objects. They are pleasant, agreeable, and it is there. This craving should be abandoned when it is abandoned. And then we go to the next section, the to ask the question, when we say it is abandoned, how does it abandon? How can we abandon it? How can we make not persisting, abandoning? Buddha said, when craving arises, when craving is seized, it is seized in these 60 places. But how does it cease? It doesn't cease automatically. There has to be a way. And that way is not specifically mentioned in the discourse itself. Buddha said, it arises here. When it arises, it ceases here. When it ceases, but there he did not say how would that be seized. That we find in other discourses. And we have to find out the way how we explain in other places. When craving ceases there, how does it cease? Because when we see eyes is impermanent, anicca. Anicca. That which is anicca, impermanent, is unsatisfactory, suffering, dukkham. And viparinama dhamma. Viparinama dhamma means perishable, altering, not steady. Then kaya dhamma, bound to decay. Vaya dhamma, bound to vanish. Viraga dhamma, subject to dispassion. And nirodha dhamma, subject to cessation. Condition, sankhatam, paticca samuppannam, dependently arisen. These are the ways we have to use to overcome. That is impermanent, perishable, bound to decay, bound to vanish, subject to dispassion, subject to cessation, conditioned, and dependently arisen. These are the 9 ways. Let me repeat these 9 ways. So, especially, we have to use these 9 ways in meditation. Of course, it is not very easy to do this all the time. I repeat them again. Suffering, perishable, bound to decay, bound to vanish, bound to dispassion, subject to cessation, conditioned, and dependently arisen. These are the steps. And then what happened? When this Buddha said, perceiving this bhikkhus, the learned and noble disciple becomes disenchanted with the I. So we have to perceive this as a wise person, learned and noble disciple. Learned person who has learned the Dhamma, who understands the nature of Dhamma. And then seeing this impermanent, unsatisfactory and so forth, then the person perceiving this very clearly, learned and noble disciple, disenchanted with the I, chakkus nibbindati, disenchanted with the form, rupesu nibbindati, disenchanted with the I consciousness, disenchanted with the eye contact, disenchanted with the feeling that arises dependent on eye contact, feeling pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, disenchanted. And then when they disenchanted with the eye, then it becomes dispassionate. Now this is how the craving that arises in the eye or through the eye should be abandoned, would cease, because we see the truth. Ordinarily, when the senses are pleasing and agreeable, ordinary person will arouse craving for that object. When visual object is pleasant, the pleasantness is not in the object. Pleasantness is in the mind of the person who perceives it, because the person enjoys it, get pleasure out of that. Where there is a pleasure, there is a craving. And when there is a pleasure and craving, then along with the craving, suffering arises. And we have to understand this as they are. This is what's called knowing things as they are, with wisdom. When one sees with wisdom, understand them, then instead of attaching them to them, the person becomes disenchanted. And so Buddha repeated the same thing. Perceiving this bhikkhu, learned and noble disciple, becomes disenchanted with the ear, and similarly with the nose, with the tongue, with the body, with the mind. Meaning, where the craving arises, when he sees the truth, he will become disenchanted with it. Otherwise, he will get engaged in it and experience more and more suffering. And Buddha finally said, and through this disenchantment, noble disciple becomes dispassionate. By the absence of passion, by the absorption of passion, free. That person is free. And when free, one aware of that freedom, When he is aware of that freedom, also he becomes aware that the rebirth is exhausted, that the holy life has been lived, that what was to be done has been done, and that there is nothing more to do in this body and mind existence. You see, Nibbinna, this is Pali sentence, Nibbinna virajyati, viraga vimuchyati, vimuttasmin vimuttamiti jnanam hoti, kina jati, usitam brahmacharyam, katam karaniyam, na parang ittata it pajanati. Now, through the learned and noble disciples, learned disciple of the Buddha, using one of these six senses, using wisely, that alone is enough for that person to liberate from suffering. So that the person has to be aware of the noble eightfold path. Now, seeing this as they really are means right understanding. Sometimes it is translated as right view. What is the right view? Seeing impermanence as impermanence. Not impermanent as permanent. That is distorted perception. Distorted perception is anicca, nicca sanya, dukkha, sukha sanya, anatte atta sanya. And right view, that means seeing impermanence as permanent, seeing unsatisfactoriness as satisfactoriness, seeing selflessness as self is distorted perception, wrong understanding, wrong view. Right understanding is seeing impermanence as impermanence. So when the person sees eyes, I use only one of the six senses. Eye is impermanent, unsatisfactory, subject to change, condition, dependent reason. These are all the factors that I mentioned earlier. If one sees only one of our senses like this, that alone, that seeing is alone itself is right understanding. From that right understanding, the person begin to uh, think rightly, speak rightly, work rightly, live right livelihood, make right effort, make right mindfulness, and practice right concentration. This is of the whole series of the Noble Eightfold Path involved in this practice. Although it is not all spelled out, explained in this way in the discourse, but when the Buddha said, when the craving ceases, this is how it ceases. When craving, when we don't have this series of practice, then we get involved in craving and become overwhelmed with craving and entangled with samsara and difficult to get out of it. And therefore, in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, last section is last section explained in detail how craving arises, because craving is the cause of suffering. How it arises, when it arises, how it passes away, when it passes away, and how we learn to uh, make it cease, make it pass away, how we learn. And therefore, this is very important section to remember. And uh, I like to end this session when this similar discourse was preceded. I like you to remember this, at least in meditation, during meditation. During meditation, we simply don't focus mind on the breath. That, of course, is the beginning. But at least during meditation, we try to free our mind from craving, greed, desire, and so forth. And therefore, if you remember this much, uh, if you remember in Pali, that would be even much easier. Anicchang, Dukkhang, Viparinama Dhammang, Kaya Dhammang, Vaya Dhammang, Viraga Dhammang, Nirodha Dhammang, Sankatang, Paticcasamupannang. These 9 steps. I say it in Pali: impermanent, suffering, perishable, bound to decay, bound to vanish, subject to dispassion, subject to cessation, and conditioned, dependently arisen. These are the 9 ways. Whenever any mental state arises, we have to use these 9 ways to get rid of them then and there. And you may remember seeing object, hearing sound, smelling smell, taste, tangibles, and mind objects. These senses are active. These things can arise during meditation. Suppose you remember seeing very beautiful objects, your mind becomes entangled with it, and then you cannot focus your mind. Then use these 9 ways. This object that I see is impermanent, suffering, perishable, bound to decay, bound to vanish, bound, subject to dispassion, subject to cessation, conditioned, dependently arisen. Use these 9 words in English if you cannot remember Pali word. Pali word is anicca, dukkha, viparinama dhammam, khaya dhammam, vaya dhammam, viraga dhammam, nirodha dhammam, sankatam, paticca samuppannam. Okay? At least remember these 9 words. Similarly, if you remember sound of music and talk and conversations and so forth bothering your mind, then you use these 9 ways. This sound I hear is impermanent, suffering, perishable, bound to decay, bound to vanish, subject to cessation, condition, dependently arisen, and so forth. You remember them. Similarly, smell, taste. If you remember certain taste and you cannot meditate, and then you have to get rid of the taste, thinking that it is impermanent, it is suffering, it is perishable, it is bound to decay, bound to vanish, bound, subject to dispassion, subject to cessation, condition, and dependently arisen. Remember them. Then you will be able to overcome that. So your meditation will be going on very smoothly. At least during that time, your mind will be free from that particular uh, difficulties. With these friends, I want to end this session, and we need some time to meditate, and let us uh, spend this time in meditation. Okay? All right. Okay. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds, whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth. May all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so, towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hatred or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake, one should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. Tomorrow, by this time, we have our retreat, and I will uh, give my talk to the retreatants. That would be called, the retreat is introduction to meditation. And even if you are an advanced meditators, just like today, instead of answering questions, uh, tomorrow, instead of asking me questions, uh, just participate in my short Dhamma talks this time, tomorrow. Okay? Now we continue our meditation. By means of these meritorious deeds, may I never join with the foolish, may I join always with the wise, until the time unattained Bhavana. May the suffering be free from suffering, may the fear-struck be free from fear, may the grieving be free from grief, so too may all beings be, from the highest realm of existence to the lowest. May all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Now, friends, I want to end this session with my special personal metta sharing with everybody. We started with metta and we want to end with metta. In this recital, also we share merits with people, beings, and share our metta with them. Now, let me wish all those who are in hospitals, taken care of by compassionate doctors, nurses, hospital staff, may they all recover very soon and return to normal life, practice Dhamma, meditation, and liberate from samsaric suffering. May all the doctors, nurses who are taking care of these people also find time to practice Dhamma meditation wherever they are, in whatever status they are. Also find time to practice meditation and liberate from samsaric suffering. May all those who have lost their loved ones may be suffering from fear, from grief. May they be free from grief and finally attain liberation. May all those who are in various trouble spots here and there in war zones and so on, may they all find time to understand the nature of greed, hatred, and delusion and try to liberate themselves from greed, hatred, and delusion, even under dire circumstances. And then finally they attain liberation. And all those who are in the northern direction, northeastern direction, eastern direction, southeastern direction, southern direction, southwestern direction, western direction, northwestern direction, up and down below us, may they all be well, happy, and peaceful. May they all attain Nibbana. With this, I want to end.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Thank
sadhu.
you, Bante.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you. Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Bante.
Tomorrow, instead of questions and answers, you may listen to my talk on for the beginners retreat, introduction to meditation retreat. It's very basic, and yet it will be useful for everybody. I hope you all find time to practice. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Bande.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Bante.
Thank you, Bante.
Sadhu,
Thank you,
sadhu.
Thank you,
Bante.
Bande.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
I see Lakshmi Desoisa. After a long time, I see your name. Momo.
Yeah. Hi, Bande. How are you?
Oh, very good, very good. Our nuns in Germany.
Yes,